would love to tell you my story. That's me, Subway Exit by Louis Guglielmi. I'm part of, well, actually, my story doesn't really start with me. It starts with a new kind of war. In the late 1940s, the Cold War revolutionized our very definition of war. The United States government, rather than fighting with bullets and bombs, was faced with the task of capturing the hearts and minds of influential intellectuals in nations undecided between communism and capitalism in Europe and Latin America. While the Marshall Plan was planned to meet Europe's physical needs, what we needed was a cultural Marshall Plan. While exhibits of traditional American art had been touring Europe, our embassies now asked for something fresh. The United States Cultural Affairs Program commissioned a modern art exhibit. Leroy Davidson chose 117 modern paintings, bought us for the State Department, and entitled us Advancing American Art. We were a testament to democracy. That meant that some of us were pro-capitalist, but others could be interpreted as anti-capitalist. And because of our freedom, that was all right. In 1946, we were put on display for the first time at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. One of my closest friends in the exhibit was A Dark Thought by Warner Drews. Because the artist painted such a gloomy moment, Dark Thought herself was always depressed. I, on the other hand, was painted to be dramatic, and I was swept away by the fame and fortune of our international tours. Oh, that was the time of my life. Prague, Czechoslovakia, 1947. Hello, Czechoslovakia!
Won't you just hush? You're making me sick.
How can you be so grumpy? For cubism's sake, we're in Prague, advancing American art. We're fresh, modern, abstract. It's a Marshall Plan for the mind, a revolution in diplomacy. We're going to be famous.
Great Georgia O'Keeffe, you're getting under my brushstrokes. I'm gonna go eat some of that abstract fruit now.
The president of Czechoslovakia has been here for more than an hour. Wasn't he only supposed to stay for 15 minutes? That's exciting. He must like me.
Listen, I heard them talking. The guards. America is bringing us home. Some magazine called Look ran an article about us, blaming the government for using taxpayer money to buy us. It was entitled, "Your Money Bought These Paintings." They're saying we're un-American. They're saying we're too modern. They're saying our artists are communists.
How hypocritical can you get? Aren't we supposed to represent a new kind of art? Aren't we supposed to represent freedom of speech? And now, America's telling us we're too modern, that we're not free. Washington, D.C., summer 1948.
International leaders loved us. Oh, but a few artistic journals in the United States loved us. Most of the popular press loved us. But with a small section of traditional artists and a single, powerful group of publications, one negative reaction led to another until Congress brought us home. What a tragedy of errors. Traditional artists, led by the conservative American Artists Professional League, or AAPL, were enraged at their exclusion. To them, modern art meant all current art. But the more traditional side of current art had already been displayed in previous government exhibitions. That's why American embassies abroad requested exhibitions, examples of this new, abstract kind of art. Nevertheless, the AAPL bombarded the public with criticisms of every aspect of advancing American art, using popular conservative publications, a letter-writing campaign, blatant congressional connections, and an impending election. Our modern art was labeled the incomprehensible, ugly, or absurd works of of a lunatic fringe, a lopsided representation of America purchased with American taxpayer dollars. We were meant to show the world how open America is. And when we tried, we were labeled a red art show when our artists freely expressed what they wished. That's McCarthyism at work. After we were recalled to America, we were sent to government committees, ridiculed by the very government who sponsored us in the first place. And finally, sent to the War Assets Administration for disposal. Those in the government who tried to stand up for us ended up losing their jobs. Maybe if we had been allowed to continue touring the world, maybe we could have performed the perspectives of influential intellectuals. But instead, America's reactions toward us proved the hypocrisy of our own nation. We made a statement about freedom of expression, and we were recalled by America for being too expressive. We failed. We're junk. That's all we are. Junk. Fall 2012.
That's when our story started to fall apart, and we were packed away in boxes as surplus war assets. All 117 of us were sold for $5,500. Just thinking of that auction still hurts. George O'Keeffe's Hill went for $50. Hunger by Ben Shahn was sold for $60. Ironically enough, Hunger is now the most familiar social realist painting of the 1940s, and it's worth 1,000 times what it was sold for.
Looking back, it just seems so surprising that it was in America, of all places, in which we were rejected. I guess, in the heat of the controversy, reaction compounded reaction until finally, the whole cultural affairs program just blew up in our faces.
Wasn't it less than a year later that, look, the magazine that published the article that started all the arguing, didn't they publish a poll of the 10 best painters in the U.S.?
Yeah, and 7 of them all had at least one painting in advancing American art. Which does make me wonder, did people's reactions actually change? Or did we start a reform in the way people view freedom of expression?
Well, I know we made at least a few people realize that what was important about us wasn't what other people thought of us. It was that, in America, people should be allowed to create art like us, regardless of what other people think.
But when America recalled us, it sent the opposite message, that we weren't really free.
Ever since our rejection in Washington, the art of thought seems to have just given up. We were so disillusioned after people reacted before we got a chance to tell them that we were supposed to be a diplomatic move, not an artistic statement. Well, anyway, you're here now, and you're listening. And you, the Americans still learning from our mistakes, you're part of our legacy. It's beautiful, isn't it? The Jewel Collins Smith Museum of Fine Art in Auburn, Alabama. Remember the auction? Well, Auburn University and 3 other public universities bought parts of the collection each. This museum was created to house us because that kind of a draw revolutionized Auburn's interest in art. This museum is here now so that 100 of us can be brought together here so the world can hear our story. You know, I think that overall, our story ends well. While our mission to reform world perspectives of American culture was a tragedy of errors, the complex chain of reactions demonstrated a need for reform in the relationship between government and art, and in the way we view freedom of expression. And in this, our legacy will live on.